In September 2024, White House border advisor Tom Homan was reportedly captured on an FBI surveillance tape accepting $50,000 in cash, a revelation that sparked immediate controversy. Questions quickly arose. Did he keep the money or return it? During a heated exchange, George pressed the issue, claiming the story had been thoroughly investigated. However, defenders of Homan pushed back, calling the accusation absurd. Tom Homan did not take a bribe. It's a baseless smear, one insisted. They argued that critics are targeting Homan not because of corruption, but because he's uncompromising in enforcing the nation's immigration laws.
FBI surveillance tape in September 2024, accepting $50,000 in cash. Did he keep that money or give it back?
George, you've covered the story ad nauseum. Tom Homan did not take a bribe. It's a ridiculous smear. And the reason you guys are going after Tom Homan so aggressively is because he's doing the job of enforcing the law.
ABC News host George Stephanopoulos looked and sounded like a ventriloquist's dummy brought to life, frantically trying to hype up a so-called mystery tape involving Tom Homan as if it were the next Watergate. But his plan quickly unraveled when Senator JD Vance entered the discussion, calm, composed, and ready to dismantle the narrative in real time. What began as a smug attempt to manufacture a scandal turned into an on-air implosion as Vance exposed the network's bias and double standards. The exchange ended with Stephanopoulos abruptly cutting off the interview when his narrative collapsed. Welcome to NERC News, where the establishment media's mask slips and propaganda meets reality. While Democrats face backlash over a government shutdown, ABC's sudden resurrection of a debunked bribery rumor looks like a desperate distraction. JD Vance didn't just respond, he obliterated the hypocrisy, turning the network's spin into his own victory.
As we saw the indictment this week of Letitia James on questions of mortgage fraud. Also, Lisa Cook has been accused by the Trump administration of committing mortgage fraud as well. The journalism outlet ProPublica has actually published a story, and I want to show it up on the screen right now, that says that several members of the Trump administration have faced similar questions. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer entered into 2 primary residence mortgages in quick succession. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has primary residence mortgages in New Jersey and Washington, D.C. Lee Zeldin, the Environmental Protection Agency administrator, has 1 primary residence mortgage in Long Island and another in Washington, D.C. How do you respond to critics who say that the Trump administration is engaging in a double standard here?
Well, I'd say 2 things, George. First of all, ProPublica is basically a left-wing blog. I'm not shocked that you found a left-wing blog that can attack members of the Trump administration. But second, and this is the most important, is what does the law say? Letitia James was indicted in a left-leaning part of our country, a part that voted very heavily against Donald J. Trump for the crime of mortgage fraud. When I read the indictment, when I read the facts in the case, I see a person who committed mortgage fraud. Now, of course, the jury is going to decide whether she ultimately committed a crime. We don't try her. The administration doesn't try her. A judge tries the case, and a jury decides whether she's ultimately guilty. That is what is going to determine whether she goes to prison. I think we let the facts drive this, and George, that's what we've tried to do in the administration's Department of Justice. We've asked ourselves, has a person violated the law? And if that person has violated the law, then we decide to prosecute him. That's what the Department of Justice should do. It didn't do that under Joe Biden's administration. It does under Donald Trump's.
On the facts, do you dispute the facts that ProPublica reported?
Do I dispute a far-left blog that I haven't read that you brought up in this interview? I have no idea, George. I have no idea what they actually said. But I certainly question the source. I question their credibility. And most importantly, I'm not worried about what they said about members of our administration. I ask the question, what does the law say? And if the law says that you engage in mortgage fraud, and a local prosecutor, a local grand jury, and finally a jury convicts you of that crime, then that is how the justice system is meant to work in the United States of America.
This is what media spin looks like when it collapses in real time. Letitia James wasn't targeted. She was indicted by a grand jury in one of the bluest states for falsifying her own mortgage forms. That's not revenge. That's accountability. Yet George Stephanopoulos clung to a ProPublica blog post as if it were gospel, mistaking partisan defense for journalism. JD Vance called it what it is, desperation from a side out of narratives. When Stephanopoulos revived the debunked Tom Homan bribery claim, Vance countered with facts so decisively that the host lost his composure and stormed off, exposing the media's crumbling credibility.
And he gets death threats, he gets attacked, he gets constantly threatened by people because he has the audacity to want to enforce the country's immigration laws. I think that it would be a much more interesting story about why is it that Tom Homan, who is simply enforcing Americans' immigration laws, is getting constantly harassed and threatened to the point of death threats. That's a much more interesting question that I think journalists should focus on. We can agree to disagree on that question.
Well, wait, you said he didn't take a bribe, but I'm not sure you answered the question. Are you saying that he did not accept the $50,000?
Media reports that Tom Homan accepted a bribe. There's no evidence of that. And here's, George, why fewer and fewer people watch your program and why you're losing credibility. Because you're talking for now 5 minutes with the Vice President of the United States about this story regarding Tom Homan, a story that I've read about, but I don't even know the video that you're talking about. Meanwhile, low-income women can't get food because the Democrats and Chuck Schumer have shut down the government. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to pay our troops because Chuck Schumer has shut down the government. You're focused on a bogus story. You're insinuating criminal wrongdoing against a guy who has done nothing wrong instead of focusing on the fact that our country is struggling because our government's shut down. Let's talk about the real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more from that than from you going down some weird left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
No, George, I said that I don't.
Up next, we'll be right back.
What you're seeing is the establishment media playbook laid bare. Take an unverified rumor, repeat it until it feels true, then demand others disprove it. JD Vance calmly dismantles that tactic, noting there's no indictment, no charges, no tape, and that Tom Homan has already been cleared by multiple reviews. It's a scandal built on nothing, kept alive because outrage sells better than truth. Vance highlights how Homan's real crime was enforcing immigration laws while facing threats from activist mobs praised by the media. Meanwhile, George Stephanopoulos ignores real issues like families struggling under a Democrat-led shutdown. Vance doesn't just win the exchange. He exposes the entire spectacle as manufactured theater for clicks, not journalism. So, did JD Vance completely dismantle the media's selective outrage? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to NERC News.